if we really understood the meaning of the risen Christ in our lives, our reaction to this would be exactly the same like that of the apostles. This is too good to be true. Too good to be true. And yet it's true. Because Jesus has really risen from death. And not only that, the effect of that resurrection is with us, here and now. It is with each individual person living who believes in that, who lives it to the full. Let's recall once again what Jesus said to the apostles the first time he met them after his crucifixion. He did not remind them that they abandoned him. He did not remind them that they all were scared still and still in doubt, and that they were in sin. They couldn't believe what was happening. And he insisted on his bones and body to show them that it was really true. He even showed them his wounds. Jesus did not rebuke them. He was not mad at them. What a difference to our own behavior in our relationships. How often we remind each other when we are angry. You remember what you did to me maybe 20 years ago. You remember that word that caused me so much pain in my life. Do you remember the time we were there and there and there, and you said this to me, and you injured me, and you caused me so much hurt in my life? Even our closest friends, people who love us and whom we love, of whom we have been hurt or whom we have hurt, we remind each other of the pains and hurt we have caused each other. And Jesus today gave us the example how the behavior should be changed if we believe in his resurrection. Jesus said, "Peace be with you." This is all he said. As if had nothing happened. We start from today. I am with you. I love you. Let's start again. Whatever happened in the past. What a great example of love, of forgiveness that we need to take from this. And he reminded them when he met the two disciples at Emmaus on the road from Jerusalem. He reminded them of all the scriptures, the Old Testament, going through to the New Testament, going all through the Old Testament, the prophets and the rest. The New Testament came afterwards, of course. But the Old Testament, he reminded them what the prophets had said about him, and that it actually all happened in his life. And he said, now, remember those words and live them. This is also a reminder to us what the Word of God can do to each one of us. Unfortunately, we have been brought up in a church after the Reformation that was afraid of the Old Testament, of the scriptures, of the Holy Word of God. And we were not allowed to read it unless we have special permission. Today, thank God, after the Vatican Council II, the Church has changed its attitude towards the Bible and the scriptures, and the Old Testament in particular. Everything. We need to open the Word of God more often. We need to get familiar to what God has said to us through his prophets, through people like us but inspired by God. And we need to know what Jesus said when he was here on earth. And not only say, because we often hear the Word of God, and we say yes. At the end of each on Sunday, when we read We hear our lectors say the word of God, and we say, yes, thanks be to God. But that's not enough. We need to say, yes, thanks be to God, and I want to live this word. This is the important. Because what we read in the second reading, anyone who says, I know him, and does not keep his commandment is a liar, refusing to admit the truth. So our responsibility as Christians is not only to hear the word of God, not only to pray with the word of God, but we need to live it. As soon as we go out of this door, as soon as the Mass ended, and we need to start living the word of God. And living the word of God means doing as Jesus did when he first met his apostles. Not reminding each other of the hurts, not reminding each other of the pains that we have received from each other, but saying, I love you, I forgive you. Let's start again. Let's start a new life, because I believe in the risen Christ. This is our behavior, this is the way our living. And let's start also praying with the Bible, praying with the scriptures. There should never be one day in a Christian's life when he doesn't open the Holy Word of God. Even just to read a sentence before we go to bed, open this treasure that we have and read one, say it, use it as a prayer. It is much more effective than the rosary, for example, that we recite so often. But the Word of God is the Word of God. It's powerful, and it helps us to keep close to God that we need, because without God we cannot do anything. This is the promise that we should give today and make it a real way of living, opening more often the scriptures, praying with them and living them in our life.